Okay, let's talk a little bit about contractors that you pay in your business, how to pay them, and the required filings. So a contractor is anyone that provides you a service in your business. This means any graphic design, website development, accounting and legal fees, anyone that's providing you a service in your business. It also means any work that you contract out. So if you sign a project and then you outsource part of that project, that is also contractors that you're paying. So whenever you are using a contractor or working with someone that's providing you a service, you can send them payments in a multitude of ways. You can wire them money, you can send ACHs, you can send checks, you can pay them with PayPal. My biggest suggestion is just to make sure you're paying them in a way that is very easily trackable. The one I will ask you to not use is Venmo, but pretty much anything else that's above board and that's a legal way of paying somebody is okay, as long as it's really easy to track. The second thing is that if you are using someone that's providing you a service in your business, you will need to file a 1099 report in January, after the year closes. What this means is that anyone that you pay for a service over $600, and that is not a corporation, needs to receive a 1099. If you are a service provider yourself, you know what this looks like because you probably receive 1099s for the work that you provide for other people and other businesses. So as a best practice, coming from somebody who I truly claim that January is probably my busiest month as an accountant. It's not only year end, kind of wrapping up year end for everybody, but there's also a lot of 1099 filings that happen in January because they're due at the end of January. And there's a lot of, historically, I've seen a lot of companies have to do a lot of chasing people down. Like maybe you used somebody for a service in February of the previous year. Here you are almost a full year later trying to track them down to get a W-9 in order to have their information in order to send them a 1099. So as a best practice, if you are using anybody as a service, go ahead and request a W-9 up front from the beginning and keep that on file as you go throughout the year. Even if you only pay someone $100, so that limit is $600. Even if you only pay someone $100, go ahead and collect a W-9 because you might end up needing them later in the year for another service. So it's good to just go ahead and have those on file. That way you don't have to do any chasing whenever it's time to file 1099s. So just a quick recap on the process. When you're using somebody for a service, you need to collect a W-9. What the W-9 has is their business name, any other DBA or anything that you are paying them under, their address, and their EIN or social security number. The reason that the IRS wants you to file 1099s, it's a checks and balances system for them. So what they do is they take Jane Smith's tax return. Say Jane files a tax return and she says, I collected $1,000 in income in 2020. And then say, I used Jane Smith as a service throughout the year and I paid her money. And so then I send a 1099 out that says I paid Jane Smith $8,000 throughout 2020 for different services. The IRS is gonna say, this doesn't match up. She said she only received $1,000, you're saying you paid her $8,000. So they're gonna go back to Jane Smith and say, hey, it looks like there's some income that you didn't claim. So it's really a way for the IRS to have a checks and balances system. That's the reason that we have to file them. They're not a hard filing. You can do them online. There's a ton of different ways and a lot of apps that make it really easy now to file. But the most important part is really just to be collecting information throughout the year, collecting those W-9s. That way you're not tracking anybody down at the end of the year. So hopefully this was helpful, and add into your workflow to collect 1099s as you work with different service providers.